starting to see both nation-state APT groups or espionage groups and cyber criminals get more creative with how they are using current tools. We've seen cyber criminals, for example.
We're here at Proofpoint Protect talking all things cybersecurity and how AI is changing the game. Well, joining me now with more is Daniel Blackford. He's head of threat research at Proofpoint. Daniel, welcome.
Thanks, great to be here.
Yes, it's great to be here as well and excited to talk to you. I want to ask about some of the biggest threat vectors that you think should be on companies' radars right now.
Great question. I think some things that should be top of mind for sure are going to focus on identity. Account takeover is huge. You know, we have seen an order of magnitude higher of URL-related threats leading to credential harvesting pages as opposed to some type of payload, a malware. I mean, info stealers are still huge, of course, but I think attackers have realized that if you can take over an account, you can likely get to some of the same outcomes, and URLs are far more ubiquitous, and the tradecraft that LLMs and other generative AI tools enable threat actors to make, it's more convincing than ever. I think that should be top of mind.
Very good to know. I do want to talk about Operation Endgame in your feature session at Proofpoint Protect. You're talking about how that disrupted ransomware networks and dismantled major malware families. What can be learned from that?
Yeah, I think a number of disruptions have happened over the past 5 years, and we've learned that in order for them to be successful, you need a few things in combination. It's not enough necessarily to just take out the infrastructure or make arrests or seize finances from threat actors. You need some combination of all of that, and it requires a large amount of cooperation from a number of law enforcement and intel agencies across the world in order to make that happen, because actors are physically in one place executing attacks through a variety of infrastructure in different countries. Maybe their victims in a third space. There are a lot of different legal statutes at play, and it really does take a large amount of cooperation between groups to make it happen. So I think when you have a big success like Operation Endgame, the resources to continue doing that continue to show up. And I think too, by going after the ecosystem that enables ransomware, maybe as opposed to ransomware itself. So for example, Hive takedown, Lockbit takedown have occurred previously. I think we realized that if you go after the enablers en masse, you may have a larger overall impact on the ransomware ecosystem.
And how have you found that Operation Endgame has changed the way that fighting cyber crime will happen in the future?
Yeah, so I think the continued cooperation is a big part of it, but also tools were taken away from these actors, right? So they have their kind of tried and true playbooks. They are creative. They will develop new techniques, but they also will continue to use what works. Well, a lot of it doesn't work anymore. And so we expect them to pivot, but when you introduce friction and impose cost on those actors, it's going to take them extra cycles to retool, rebuild, and that provides defenders time to shore up their defenses in cases where they may have been weak, and also for us to potentially get ahead of the next step.
How are you finding that APT and cybercrime groups are using AI today?
Yeah, so I think I have probably been someone who has tried to tamp down the hype and not chase ambulances when it comes to AI historically. I think there's been a lot of conversation around how phishing lures are maybe being translated into new languages more seamlessly, right? Like it sounds as if a native speaker is composing them as opposed to maybe some mistranslations being a clue that it's not legitimate. Sure, that's real, but it doesn't necessarily change the way that the detection mechanisms work, right? But now we're starting to see both nation-state APT groups or espionage groups and cyber criminals get more creative with how they are using current tools. We've seen cyber criminals, for example, use AI applications which are basically designed to rapidly prototype web pages and share them with groups. They're creating phishing kits with them and deploying it outright. So it's really lowered the barrier to entry there. We've also seen nation-state actors, for example, group out of Russia, use LLMs in the middle of their attacks at very targeted entities, at state agencies that they're in conflict with. We have seen China as well use LLMs in interesting ways, maybe to enable some of their less sophisticated operators. They can actually input human readable prompts into the LLM to ask it to do things like list all the files of a directory, and then the LLMs can then script those things rather quickly in PowerShell or in some shell code, execute them directly. So I think we're starting to see more experimentation, and as the world comes together and everyone starts connecting their various MCPs, the attack surface is going to be wider than ever, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
So how does that change or shape the future? What implications does it have on detection and prevention going forward?
Sure. I think it hasn't changed things too much, but it has allowed actors to scale up already. And depending on how our agentic future goes, if we do get to this point where we have agents acting semi-autonomously or fully autonomously, interacting with each other all over the world, I think what you've done functionally is increase the attack surface that actors have to potentially exploit. And it's going to be a difficult challenge for defenders, but I think those companies that are they have a lot of data and processing and layered detection mechanisms in place are probably the ones who are already best suited to tackle what will definitely be a wild, wild west.
Here's the fun question, Daniel. If AI could plan your next vacation, where would it be?
If AI could plan mine, does this mean that they're actually going to buy the tickets for me, maybe get me a free upgrade?
I think it means all of that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I haven't been to a beach in a while. I'm not too picky. Maybe outside the United States, though.
All right, Daniel. Daniel Blackford, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks. It was fun.
It was fun.